let's get this thing going. Hey guys, welcome to another episode, an afternoon episode again of Pro Seller Talk. And my guest today is Greg Murphy. Greg has a very busy schedule, so we had to schedule it when we could to get him on here. And this is the time that works for him. So we wanted to make sure we accommodated that and also got him on here to share a lot of information. Greg is a heavy book seller. Just talked to Greg a few minutes ago before we went on the air. And Greg told me that he's on track. He thinks he did a little over $3 million on Amazon in books. And to me, I don't know about you, but I tried books a few years ago, and it really isn't a fun thing for me. I like finding things and finding them quickly. I don't like scanning. And I know Greg has evolved from that from the beginning, and we're going to get into the beginning and how he started and what his obstacles were and things like that, so that you guys can understand if you decide that you want to go into doing books, what you're kind of up against. And I know Greg will talk also about, the different challenges that booksellers have now with Amazon, and also the tools that are available now from when he first started. Because I know when he first started, it's a whole lot different than what he's doing now as far as getting books. So, hey, Greg, it's a pleasure to have you here. Thanks for coming on the show.
No problem. Thanks, John. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Hey, so give us a little bit of background about you and how you've evolved as if you did sell on eBay first and went to Amazon, or how it came about that you're this. I don't like to use the term guru, but man, we're killing it with books.
We're doing all right. We sell a few books this year, or this for January only. We're probably going to do around between $450,000 and $500,000 in January. We had a big textbook season. So that's selling over 55,000 units as well. So it's a few books. But I started just like everybody else. Back then it was 2010, so it was the PDA and a few bucks. And I was actually broke at the time, is the reason why. And I was buying books. My wife was at the time, my girlfriend. She was selling her clothes on eBay, and so we started to. I checked out the textbooks, the economics textbooks that I had on the shelf from school that I couldn't sell back, and we sold those on Amazon. And then I ended up getting a stipend from school, and I spent that money on books, and I kind of never looked back. And I think we did $145,000 my first year with just me and my wife while I was going to graduate school, and then we just. I think we doubled the second year, and then on and on and on. And it's pretty great. Now we have between 15 and 20 employees at any given time. We sort about 15 tons of used books each and every day, and we're just making it happen.
So what are some of the challenges for someone that's on here that's thinking about, obviously book seems to be a hot topic today. A lot of people are looking at and also books is a very low barrier to entry cost. It's very low risk to get into books. And that's why a lot of people want to, hear and they want to learn about how to do books. What are some of the, if someone's just starting out, some of the obstacles that you've had to overcome that maybe can help cut down their learning curve?
Well, back in the Stone Ages of 2010, we didn't have some of the tools that they have today. But now, I mean, heck, on your smartphone, there's just so much information that's available. And so there's all kinds of apps that you can use, Scan Power, a seller tool, NeoScan. There's a lot that are book specific. We prefer database products. They might not be as accurate, but we find them to be faster. And in fact, if we ever go out in the field, which maybe a couple times a year, really, honestly, we'll use PDAs with the databases on them. I think they're faster. In fact, I had an event here at the warehouse last year, Bustproof Live. We had about 100 booksellers out. And do you know Caleb Roth?
What's his name?
Caleb Roth.
Name sounds familiar. I've heard that name before.
Well, he's a bookseller, and then my friend Nick Jump. They had actually a competition, and we set them up with about 100 books on tables, and Caleb used a phone with a scanner, and my buddy Nick used a PDA, and they had a race to see who could scan the books the fastest, and it was pretty much a tie.
That's funny.
So yeah, so there's all types of software to make it easier, but really the big deal is just to understand sales rank and to understand Amazon's fees, so that when you're making these purchases, you can make purchases that are good and that and it'll pay off pretty quickly.
I'm just typing to tell them to put their questions into the thing for you.
Awesome. Yeah, guys, if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat, and we'll try to get to as many as we can. In addition to all of those, the thing that's great about books is, John talked about the low barrier to entry. I mean, you can get books for free. There's lots of ways to get books for free. You can start looking around your house for books that can sell online, and you can talk to friends that you have. The big trick is that you can start this business with no money, absolutely $0 if you want to get into books.
Some of the suggestions for people that are on here saying, okay, how do I do that? What would you give as suggestions of places that I kind of know some that you can get books for free, but you probably have been there, done that type deal.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of ways. What I would do, and what we have people when we suggest that people do, is when you start a book business, to tell your friends and family, hey guys, do you guys have any books that you want to get rid of? I'm starting to sell books on Amazon, starting my own online business. You'll find that there's lots of people in your social group, friends and families, that are happy to give you some books, because the truth, John, is that books to most people are going to be garbage, like literally garbage. They have their books that are sitting around taking up space, and they're just in the way. Not only to your friends and family, but to local thrift stores, local bookstores, local recycling centers. A lot of those places are going to have books that they see as garbage, that are in the way of them doing what they need to do. Do you hear that?
What's that?
I had some feedback. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe it's on my end. It's over now though.
Yeah, I didn't hear any feedback.
Okay, must have been over here.
All right, what I'm actually doing too, because Zoom doesn't actually let you take the chat and carry it over when it's over. So I'm actually copying and pasting the chat of all the things that go in here and the questions, so that people who get the replay can actually have the chat. One of the biggest things I hear is, how do we get the chat? So I kind of learned from Zoom that you got to kind of copy and paste it. There's no other way, unless you know a way. I don't know how many Zoom webinars you've done, but nobody's been able to tell me how to get the chat.
I don't use Zoom for webinars. I use GoToWebinar, but I do use Zoom for meetings, but I don't know about capturing the Q&A or the chat or anything like that on it. Okay. But I will go ahead and get to some questions, John, while you're doing that.
Yep, we're doing that right now. Let's see. We've got some questions here, so let's see what we got. We've got, what weight do you place on rank versus offers?
I honestly, and I don't, now when I talk like this, it's important that everybody understands that this is, I can only tell you what I do. I can't tell you what's right or wrong or in between. All I can do is give you advice based upon what I do. I never make any decisions based upon offers. The only thing I look at is price and sales rank. And that might not get the absolute optimal result for each and every book, but what it does do is it speeds you up and allows you to go through more material quicker. So maybe I might be a little bit suboptimal 5 or 10% of the time, but if I can double the number of books I go through because I'm not worried about all these other secondary factors, I think I can make more money overall. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
I'm looking here at the Q&A, and Alexandra asks, Greg, with Amazon going after the nude textbook issue, do you think Amazon's going to gate certain publishers, or simply gate all new books and only allow those who have accounts with publishers? I personally haven't had any issues. I mean, we don't sell new textbooks in FBA, but I have friends that do a lot of textbooks in FBA, and they haven't had any problems at all with selling these textbooks new. There's some people that have models that are doing, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, friends of mine that haven't had any problems at all. So I think a lot of these problems, and I could be wrong, but I think a lot of these problems have to do with Amazon is being very leery about new sellers. They're very leery about what's going on with new sellers. They want to make sure new sellers have all their ducks in a row. People that are established aren't having as many of these issues.
We've got a question from Russ. He says, are your books in Amazon or you ship from warehouse?
We have about 100,000 titles that we have in our merchant fulfilled, and those are books that are worth a good chunk of change, or they're really high rank. There's a lot of reasons we have books merchant fulfilled, but we have about 100,000 merchant fulfilled. We have about, I think, 200,000 or so FBA, but about 85,000, John, about 85,000 of those books are going to be destroyed in February because of them not giving us the one ASIN exemption anymore.
Yeah, that's kind of, and I know that's a hot topic for a lot of people going into books. Is like before you could get that long tail book and hold on to it for quite a while and make the profit that you're looking to get most of the time. And a lot of people, since they've actually taken that, can't even have not just books, anything of an item in there left long now. So it is going to change the playing field. We have another question here. What adjustments are you making in February as high as sales rank for FBA sales?
Say that one more time, please. I just saw that my good friend Bob Willie is on the. He's here today. I didn't know he was going to be here. So now I'm really nervous because Bob's here.
Bob always follows me. Hey, Bob, how's it going?
Ask me that question again.
He says, what adjustments are you making in February as highest sales rank for FBA sales? And that comes from Ed Sherman.
Sales rank. Okay. Yeah. It's honestly, we're going to get a little bit lower. Before we would go 2.5, 3 million sometimes. We're going to get a little bit lower, but I'm still not super going to be really worried about it. And here's why. If I'm only sending one copy in, we find that there's going to be stuff that's left over that we're not going to sell. Okay. But I think that let's say we send in 100 books into FBA that are ranked 1.5 million. And let's say 30 of them sell. That's going to cover the cost of the ones that didn't sell. Because remember, my acquisition costs are nothing, and that's all sunk costs. These are all books that I've already paid for. So if I can't sell them through the bookstore or otherwise anyway, I might as well take a shot. And the trick is that I know right now that half of the books I send into FBA are not going to sell. The problem, John, is I just don't know which half. So now that I only have 6 months to sell them, it doesn't really change the math too much. We're going to get rid of some of those marginal books. Now that Amazon's fees are going up, our average price is going to have to go up to compensate that. And I think what's going to happen once these changes go through the market and all the dumb money catches up, what's going to end up happening is that prices overall are just going to go up for consumers.
Yeah, I agree. Jessica has a question. What percentage do you pay in Amazon fees, and what percentage of sales goes towards expenses overall? It's like a two-part question.
Okay, well, first off, this is kind of a bummer, but because of our low ASP, because we send everything average sales price, because of how low that is, it can be between 1/3 and 50% of our revenue can go to Amazon fees. It's usually closer to 1/3. But when we're way out of textbook season and we're not selling as many textbooks at all, like when we're looking at April, sometimes it's closer to half. Now that number is going to change as we're going to get away from marginal products, and we've been pushing to move more towards offline sales. My long-term goal is to have to only go through as much material as I can to support as I need to support my bookstore operations. So my plan for 2017 is to continue going through about 15 tons a day, and then all the bookstore quality books that are worth less than, let's say, $10 FBA. All those books, I'll funnel them into my first bookstore, and if that goes the way I think, I'm going to open another bookstore, and on and on. Hopefully.
Troy has a question here. He says, what do you do with really old books that are over 100 years old?
Well, books that don't have, first off, this is going to be a bummer to people that treat every book that is as very special. When you're going through 15 tons of books a day, you have to make very quick decisions. And so any book that is pre-ISBN, that was published before 1970 or whatever it is, those books are tossed into a Gaylord, which is it fits on top of a skid, 4 foot by 4 foot by 4 foot high, give or take. Those books are thrown into a Gaylord, and we have a guy, a collector, or I don't know what, a dealer, a book dealer or something. He comes by, and I think he pays $60 or $80 a Gaylord for the right to go through and take the books he wants, and then we'll take whatever's left that we want for the bookstore. Excuse me. And then everything else we recycle and get paid that way. Now, we would love to have like a real book person, someone that knows books, like a rare, I don't know, there's people that do that. In fact, I'm going to the bookseller thing in Colorado. They have this big, for real booksellers. I don't even know what it's called, but it's for like the grown-up bookseller people that actually that know stuff about books. They have this big meeting in Colorado. I'm going to go there and try to hire one to come work for me.
There you go. Anthony says, hi, so I've been selling books for about 3 months now. I've been going to libraries and colleges. I do okay, maybe 100 to 500 a month. I'm curious as to what can I do next to connect with business or secure more sources of books.
Okay, well, here's the trick, is that what you have to do is be willing for people to tell you no. If you make phone calls, you can build contacts. There's always I always talk about the 3 big sources of books. It's going to be, bookstores are going to be the most expensive, and then thrift stores and libraries are going to be in the middle, and then recycling centers are going to be the absolute cheapest. Or sometimes we've had people that have had setups before where the recycling centers pay them to sort the books and take the ones they want. So, but really the big deal is just to make phone calls. It's not really hard as long as you're willing to hear people tell you no all day.
Okay, let's see who else we got here. We got quite a few questions. Let's see. All right, this is from Don. He says, what do you do with the books you don't use in all those Gaylords?
They're recycled. We recycle over probably 75%. I'd like to get that number down, but probably around 75% or so of all the books that we come in contact with end up being pulped. Now, sometimes we get special orders from mills or from other groups where they'll say, hey, Greg, please send us a tractor trailer load of mass market paperbacks. And if they charge enough, then we're able to do that for them. Or there's some other groups they'll turn the books into insulation or into shingles. Or we have some people that'll buy tractor trailer loads of kids' books to sell overseas. So we try to monetize as much as we can. We're also looking for a way to donate books. I think we donated over 150,000 books last year to people in our local community and around the world through the dollar book swap. But our goal was 1 million books, and we thought we hit it pretty easy. The problem is that a lot of these nonprofits, they want the books categorized. Like they wanted us to send them boxes of books, 40-pound boxes of like books for 3rd grade girls. I'm like, guys, that's expensive. I can send you a Gaylord of children's books for free. You just got to pay the shipping, but I can't. All that sorting costs money.
Absolutely. I think this is Fabian. FAVA, Fava. How does the new storage fee affect sellers? What advice would you give to fairly new sellers selling a year or two?
I would say don't sell books for less than $10 on FBA. Um, and what you're going to have to look at is it'll be the only one, but there's the FBA calculator. It's going to look at your storage fees. You'll be able to see all the fees that are involved in this. The price point of all these books are going to go up, but yeah, you have to make sure that you're making money. So the way I used to look at it was that Amazon takes $4 off the top. So a quick amount of math would say, if you bought a book for $1, if you sold a book for $10, you'd make around $5 after fees, give or take, maybe a little bit more. That's like quick rough math. But now I'm telling you guys, you're going to have to check out and update and realize that the heavier books are going to get hit even harder than they used to be. So stuff that's over £1, you're going to have to sell that for a little bit more than you did before. But definitely check out the FBA calculator. That'll make sure that you're on top of everything. And to be safe, if you're a small operation, you might want to be selling for books under $1 million in sales rank, just to be safe.
All right. Jason says, how can I make a comparison between the U.S. sales rank and the UK? Because 500K in the U.S. will be different in the UK.
You will, and you're going to have to ask somebody either smarter than me or from the UK. Because I have no idea.
Okay. Tom Jones. Hey, that's a singer. Greg, do you feel that the bulk book business model is sustainable for the next 3 to 5 years, and why or why not?
I think it's sustainable forever. I do. I mean, we're not slowing down at all. What I've always said about bulk books is that where you get rich, where you get paid, is figuring out what to do with the books that you can't sell on Amazon. Because any chucklehead in the world can sell a $20 textbook and make money. But the difference between people that are really killing it and that are making a little bit of cash are what you can do with books that you can't sell on Amazon. And you have to get creative. We're opening up probably in about a month, maybe 6 weeks. We're opening up a 20,000 square foot bookstore, a little bit south of where we are now, and we're just now looking at getting the shelving and doing the demo. We're going to do the demo of the building. It used to be a Christian teenage nightclub, is the building we're getting. And so we got to tear down some stages, do some painting, put some tile and everything in. But yeah, it's going to be exciting. And I think really having that downstream, and you don't have to open a bookstore, but you can sell books if you're smaller. What we did for a long time, we would sell books to bookstores, and there's lots of ways that you can make money with your downstream books, the books you can't sell on Amazon. And that's about hustle, John. That's what that's about. Is people that are lazy are never going to be able to really crush it. You have to figure out that this is stuff that's valuable, and just because we all get in this place where Amazon is the only market. I don't know why, but for some reason, a lot of us think, well, if it can't sell on Amazon, it's worthless. And people talk all the time about firewood or duds or like crap books, or I hear this all the time, and that's just not true. There's still a lot of revenue. Just because you can't sell on Amazon doesn't mean that there's not somebody that doesn't want that book.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think Amazon is just one marketplace for any kind of item that you're selling. I think that a lot of us do. I think in the beginning, a lot of us, when we see that Amazon income flowing, I think we get hooked on that and feel like that's our only security blanket, but it really can't be, because I tell people all the time when I'm hosting my webinars, I say, if I ask you this question, even with books, if Amazon came to you tomorrow and said, hey, we don't want you to sell here anymore, what would that do to your livelihood? What would that do to your business? Now, I know for you have bookstores, so you'll survive, but for someone that put all their eggs in one basket, what happens to them?
Right. Yeah. And unfortunately for us, it'd be devastating, because It's a family business. I have a lot of family that works here, but I mean, I wouldn't starve, obviously, but it would be tough on our staff, big time. And so that's an issue for that's an issue for any business, where if you have short-term instability, you can make changes over the course of time, but I mean, yeah, having a lack of cash flow short term can have big impacts on your staff, certainly.
And having multiple streams of income can help offset that, and that's what you look at. Let's see.
Certainly, I'd love never to sell on Amazon again. If I could figure out a way to go through these books and say, hey, listen, John, I'm just going to sell you at 40% of what I could get on Amazon, and just send them on down the road. If we could figure out, if I could figure out a way to make that work and never have to get him money from Amazon, I'd be the happiest guy in the world.
Well, I tell you, I have a WhatsApp group that you could probably move a lot of books through. I mean, it would cut your percentage of what you make, but there's a lot of people in there that would eat up profitable books in a heartbeat. I can tell you that. So there's I have a group that does that. So if you're ever interested in something like that, where you just you get loads of books, and the only problem with it is it has to be manifested. And I know that's a lot of work to do. So you have to look at that.
Yeah, I can't. We tried something like that before with another group of folks, and it's too much work. It would have like for us to do it, I would have to be able to literally just send Gaylords of good books to somebody else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I would love that, but I mean, I haven't figured out a way to do that yet. But I don't want to sell it. I mean, that's not what we're good at.
Yeah.
Once we find that $20 or $50 textbook or whatever it is, at that point we're using FBA. There's no difference between someone that's selling 1,000 books a day or somebody that's selling one book a day. There's no competitive advantage. What our competitive advantage is we're able to sort books quickly, and we're able to find books to sort. So I mean, getting out of the Amazon game would be great.
Yeah, and I'll pose that question to the people that are on here for your purpose. If Greg was able to put Gaylords of books together, and you didn't care what they were, but Greg just knew that they were profitable books, would anybody be interested in buying Gaylords like that?
Well, I mean, well, let's keep it hypothetical, because
hypothetical.
It's been tough to do that before. That's been a hard road to hoe. So if we can figure out a way to make it work, I'd love to. But I mean, it'd have to. Yeah, we'll talk about that off air.
Yeah, have to make sense.
Yeah.
All right. Just trying to help you, Greg.
I understand.
All right. Martin says, actually, no, Don. Sorry, Don. Don says, is there a quick way to calculate my long-term storage fees? I have 4,000 books.
I don't know. I think I heard it was like $1 a book is what it ended up being, but I could be totally wrong. It might be less than that. I know that to send them home, it's like, if it's 15 cents a book to destroy them, which is the absolute cheapest. So it's definitely going to be more than that, right?
Right.
I think it's 50 cents to get them sent back. So I'm honestly not 100% sure, but you can find that out. You can find how many books are eligible, and you can figure out what that bill is going to be. But honestly, I don't know how.
Well, and the other thing too, Don, you got to look at, and Greg will tell you this, is it, when you're talking long-term storage, I mean, are we talking 6 months or a year? There's two different charge fees there. They're double of each other as far as fees, and it can cost more for the year storage fee than it's going to cost for the 6 month storage fee. So you got to kind of look at, are you talking 6 months books, or are you talking a year books? And if you're talking a year books, then it's going to be a lot higher and a lot more money to get those things out of there. For your cost, if you don't get those out of there. All right, Martin, when doing bulk books, what are your numbers for deciding what to send in FBA? What is your minimum price and highest sales rank? Right now, I am doing 5 million rank and $8.99 sale price.
Yeah, 5 million might be a little high in today's climate. And now more than ever with Amazon's fees, you need to look at weight more than you did in the past. I think and I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I think that after all the new fees are in place, a book that's more than £1, I think the minimum price that you're going to be able to make is like $7.50 or $8 minimum, and that's if you got the book for free. So I would suggest unless the book weighs less than a pound, that especially if you're a smaller operation, to shoot for a $10 price point or above at the minimum. And I honestly, I would shoot that sales rank number way down unless the book is worth more than $20 or so.
Someone says you can see the storage fee charged per book in Seller Central.
I don't use Amazon's tools at all.
All right, let's see. So where are we going through this? You guys have a lot of great questions. There's a lot of questions. Let's see. All right. What criteria goes into deciding listing FBA versus MFN?
Well, for you guys, what I would suggest is to sell it all FBA. Otherwise, you'll end up like I did, which was having books stored everywhere in your house. We even had books that we stored on the back of the toilet before my wife kicked the business out of the house. We already have basically a setup for fulfillment where we can have upwards of 150,000 books. We have shelving space for that many books in our warehouse. So because we already have that and we already have a team that's dedicated to doing that, it makes sense for us to keep books merchant fulfilled. But if I was starting over, I would keep a much smaller footprint in terms of space requirements, and I would send just about everything to FBA.
Okay. Bob Wiley says, I don't know if he's answering a question or if he's asking a question. It says, new sellers selling new books in possible overgrading.
That was probably in response to what we were talking about earlier. And Bob is, there's people that get very salty about selling books as new. I don't like to talk about it too much because it's sort of like politics. Politics, religion, and selling books as new. Those are things I try not to talk about that much. But there's people, Amazon's condition guidelines that talk about new books. And as of now, they don't require you to say, you bought the books from a publisher or something like that. They say that the book is new, that it's obviously new and unread and everything. And so what's happening is that there's these sellers, these new sellers are getting in trouble and they're getting some accounts suspended for selling books as new. And there's all these theories about why and how, but I don't really know the answer. I mean, Amazon's pretty murky about how they do things. But at the same time, I know friends that sell literally thousands of dollars a day or a week and new books in FBA and don't have any problems at all.
All right. I'm not even sure I know the answer to this one. I'd be curious to the answer if you know it. Kyle says, so how many positive reviews does it take for Amazon to consider you an established seller?
No idea.
I have no.
We get we're getting around 1,500 a month. But that's just because textbook season is pretty crazy. But I don't know. I don't have any idea. I know that when I was a smaller seller, and I talked about this with my friend Anitra in an interview the other day, where when I was a small seller and I was selling, few 10, 15, 20 books a day, and I used to think that I knew way more about Amazon than I do. Like the reason sales happen, or the reason that I used to think that, well, if I got a positive feedback and then the algorithm would make me sell more books next time, or I used to think a lot of things, man. And like rubbing your belly and tapping your head at the same time. I mean, reading entrails or Magic 8 Balls, whatever. The point is that we don't know what's happening. I personally don't think we have any idea why customers do anything. I mean, basically, I sort of think sometimes they're just smacking their heads against the keyboard and placing orders that way. I honestly don't think that there's really any way to know what customers are doing.
Margaret says, I know Amazon is the way to go for selling at the best price, but I am needing to cancel my pro account and possibly sell MF in eBay. What apps are the best for making the best purchase? If I close my pro account, will I lose all of my ungated categories if I just sell books MF.
No idea. I don't know any of those things. But I will say that if you're closing a pro account, Margaret, I now I see the question right there. It was on the best price. Now you don't have to the pro account if you're selling. First off, Margaret, if you're selling more than 40 books a month in Amazon, merchant fulfilled or FBA, you should not cancel the pro account because what's happening is that if you don't have a pro account, you're gonna get charged an extra $1 per book in fees. So first off, that's a mistake if you're selling more than 40 books a month. If you're not, then the issue, I mean, all this stuff isn't honestly all that important. If you're talking about inventory labs and all that stuff, if you're not selling, and I mean, I don't want to be offensive, but if you're not selling 40 books a month, I mean, this stuff, I don't even know that I'd have any kind of accounts. Because, I mean, all that stuff costs money, right? I don't know how much inventory labs is, right?
Yeah, theirs is up there. And you're absolutely right. If you're selling more than 40 books, they're going to hit you a 99-cent fee on everything that you sell if you're not a pro account. So you definitely want to have a pro account. All right. Rick says, have you noticed the FBA competition increasing a lot lately, and where do you see it going in the future?
I'm not the best guy to ask. But because I don't pay much attention to any individual title, we're dealing in the macro in my business. We're looking at average sales price. It's hard to tell because of how fast we're growing. I mean, we're growing, between 40 and 60% year over year since the beginning. I mean, in the first few years, it was over 100% growth. So it's hard. We're not a steady business where we can see differences in competition, and then we just don't. It's hard for us to analyze those kind of patterns, and I hesitate again to talk about to talk in generalities about that kind of thing because I just don't know. I do see like smaller sellers and newer sellers complain about levels of competition, but as far as I'm going, we're going gangbusters.
Steven says, or Troy, they've got two different names here, said, I guess they want to know the eBay market. What do you think about eBay for books?
I like it way more than I used to. Not for individual books. We don't sell any individual books on eBay, but we're doing a few thousand, especially for Christmas. I think we did 10 grand on eBay, but we're selling a little bit on eBay, like sets of books where we're selling maybe 10 or 15 books for $30 with free shipping, or like a bunch of kids books, like chapter books and Goosebumps and that kind of thing. So we might have 20 Goosebumps for $30 with free shipping, things like that. I like it for sets. Otherwise, it's too much work. But if you're selling, stuff for 20, 30 bucks and you have a bundle of it or whatever, that's fine. I like eBay's a lot easier than it was. I tried to do eBay 6-7 years ago, and it was too much. It was just ridiculous. But now my staff, we have an iPad that they use for checkout at the bookstore, and they take it and they take pictures and upload stuff for eBay. It's real easy.
Hey, Ashley says, I have nearly unlimited supply of free or very cheap books, but to get the deal, I have to take them bulk. After I pull out books that can sell on Amazon and eBay, I am left with hundreds of very nice books. Any tips on expanding to offline sales?
Say the last part again.
She says that she's got these very free or very cheap books, and she says that after pulling out the good books, she says, I am left with hundreds of nice books. Any tips on expanding to offline sales?
Expanding to offline sales. Yeah. If you have, so you're small enough to where you don't have to worry about selling them yourself, you're going to want to deal with a local used bookstore of some kind. And if that doesn't work for you, you can try Craigslist. We never did it when we were small enough to mess with Craigslist. We had, the local used bookstores around that were willing to buy them. But yeah, either if you don't have a used bookstore that'll buy them, then try Craigslist.
All right, let's get back up here where we were. Let's see. All right, it says from Martin. When doing bulk books, what are your numbers for deciding what to send in FBA? What is your minimum price and highest sales rank? Right now, I am doing. Oh, we already answered that one. Okay, sorry, it's on there twice. Sorry. Doug, are you going to have an ongoing process for culling steel inventory given that LTSF's different from your old process?
No, I don't think so. I think that every 6 months we're going to destroy everything that's there that is old. I mean, for real, it's so cheap. Our outbound shipping costs are so cheap that it just doesn't make sense to fart around with it. What we will do is we're going to start taking into account. We're going to start taking into account the books that we are destroying in Amazon and not sending them anymore. We're going to be, since we're going to be selling books at the bookstore for $2 and $3, sometimes even more. We're going to look at our local demand and say, if a book is selling for $10 in FBA, but we can sell it for $4 in the store and we can't keep it in stock, then we're going to sell it that way. We have a huge amount of data from all the transactions that we've had from Amazon. I mean, there's been over 1 million books that we've sent in that we've dealt with either merch fulfilled or FBA since we've been open, that we've actually listed for sale, and so we have a lot of data to work with, and so it's going to get easier. Where I honestly, before, because the fees were so stinking low, it didn't make sense to invest in analyzing data. Because what I would say is, well, hell, I'm just going to send in anything that's probably worth money. And if it's no good, then we'll just have it destroyed. But now Amazon is saying, well, you don't get one ACE exemption. And so now I got this big old number. I think today it's 85,000 books are going to be eligible for the long-term storage fee. So that's going to cost me probably $13,000 to $15,000 to destroy them all.
I'm not sure how to spell this name. It's Genevieve. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Geneve, maybe? Geneve says, and this is a good question, as a newbie who has never sent anything into AZ before, I'd like a better understanding as how long-term storage fees work timing-wise. Would sending an item after 2/15 give me a year before long-term storage fees would kick in, or do they start to the date after you send items in?
I'm not 100% sure, but I don't worry about that kind of thing. I have friends that are like, well, I'm not going to send in books until after this time so they won't be eligible for long-term storage before August. That might be, and again, John, all I can say is what we do and the reasoning behind it. But for me, I don't try to analyze that kind of thing to get it just right, to get free storage or for longer or anything like that. My thing is to figure out books that are profitable, send them in and move on. I don't want to spend a lot of time trying to maximize or trying to minimize fees in that way. I figure that I'll make more money just by making a quicker decision and just moving on about things. I think sometimes we can get paralysis by analysis to where we can try to avoid things and I mean, that might be good for some people, but my strategy is to just throw it all on the wall and see what sticks and just kind of make adjustments from there.
Yeah, you want to keep money moving. You want to, if it's not going in a certain amount of time, you just, move on to something else. Use that capital to go into and buy more. Let's see. Jacob says, Greg, what are you currently getting per ton for recycling? I want to make sure I'm not getting ripped off.
We don't get much. I talked to somebody today about it, and from one of the groups. But yeah, we get about $40 a ton, and there's been people that are saying, "Oh my gosh, well you should get way more." And the problem is that the people that buy our recycling, they send an empty trailer. When we fill it up, they swap it out, and they give us the Gaylords and skids back. And whenever we call them, they're there the next day. The problem with some of these guys that are wanting to pay us more for the recycling, they can't handle the volume that we do. So because we're recycling 40 tons a week, or sometimes even more, we have to have a partner that can handle all that volume. And we definitely can't deal with someone that says, oh, well, no, we can't buy this week. And I don't have any space. We have a 60,000 square foot building, but it can't be filled up with recycling. We need to have raw loads in here.
All right. Martin says, what do you do when the cover doesn't match the photo on Amazon?
Like when it's the same book, but just like the cover's different, or sometimes if it's a mismatch, we won't send it in. But if the cover just looks different, I mean, I don't have a rule that tells them to do it, but we'll just list it. We just do. And sometimes customers care and sometimes they don't. And I mean, I know that you might be supposed to do something else, but I mean, if Amazon realizes that their catalog isn't perfect, and if the barcode matches the title, my guys don't even see a picture of what the cover's supposed to look like when they're listing it from our software. So if the title matches and the barcode matches, then it's getting listed.
Cindy says, what are some other places to sell?
Yeah, well, you can sell. I also saw a question from someone anonymous asking about Abe bugs. You can sell on Alibris. You can sell on half.com, obviously eBay. You can sell on Abe. Currently, we're selling on just Alibris and Amazon. We're trying to get back onto half. We had a problem a few years ago. My old eBay account was shut down because the customer questions were going to the wrong email box, and I wasn't getting them. And so I ended up getting my eBay account suspended, which then in turn got my half account suspended. So now we just sell on Alibris. I don't sell on Abe anymore because my credit card on file went bad, and I just never changed it because we were only doing, I think we were making like $2,000 a month on Abe. So that's not. My thinking is that was enough money to mess with, since they'll probably sell on Amazon anyway, and it was just a couple grand a month, or a couple $100,000 a month. It's not. It's like 1% of sales.
Rick is asking, do you have an ongoing brick and mortar bookstore going now? And if so, how much of your sales comes through there?
Well, we have a 60,000 square foot warehouse, and we have a bookstore. You can go to dollarbookswap.com and check it out if you want. You can also, if you go to the website dollarbookswap.com, you can also go to like the About Us section and see videos of inside the warehouse. It's kind of cool. I also have a little cartoon video that's on the front page you can check out. But we have it. It's open Thursdays through Sundays, and we have over 100,000 titles in the store. We sell them all for $1. Now, we are in the process of getting a 20,000 square foot building that's dedicated in a bookstore, like a traditional brick and mortar bookstore. And the prices are going to be a little bit higher, probably $2 and $3 a book at first. Maybe some of the books will be more expensive later on. But yeah, it's going to be a traditional brick and mortar bookstore, and we're really excited. I think if this first one goes well, we're going to open up a lot real fast.
We have another question about textbooks. Since it's getting close to the end of the textbook season, is it better to hold on to them until summer?
No. Never hold. No, just sell them. People buy textbooks all year round. You're never going to. That's never the attitude, in my opinion, that you want to take. And we'll just save these books for later. Those people are called hoarders, because what's going to happen is that you're going to get more of these books and more of these books. And I did this at first too. Like, I would try to maximize everything and whatever. But you have the books now, send them in, sell them, get that money, and buy some other stuff. You'll make way more money doing that than trying to hold books and wait till later.
And I agree. Being that I have a fulfillment center, I can tell you that textbooks come in here all year, all the time, and they sell all year round. Do you collect sales tax? Troy wants to know, do you collect sales tax in all states that have Amazon facilities?
No.
Denise, Greg, will you not be calling any of your book home to sell MF instead of having all the FBA long tail destroyed? Will you share why?
There may be a few. We'll obviously run we have a data guy that'll run the analysis and see. Uh-oh. Someone asked why the bus-proof site's down. Is that true? No, it's not true. Sorry, that freaked me out. Sometimes we have some hackers that try to play around. Sorry about that. But so, oh yeah, I'm back. Okay. So the reason we'll probably have a few of them. A few of them will probably come back, but my guess is that probably 95% of them won't. And the reason why is that they're just not valuable anymore. Like I said before, about half of what we probably about half of what we send in is stuff that probably ought not go in, but we just don't know which half, right? It's some of the marginal stuff that we're not going to be sending in the future. So yeah, there's just not a big reason to send them back. I was very upset that Amazon didn't let us bring them home for free, like they've done every other February.
Let's see. Bob's answering a lot of questions for you. Thanks, Bob. You're doing a lot of great work behind the scenes.
He just don't want to hear. He has it muted. Bob he don't want to hear me talk.
Okay, he's got all these answers he's answering. Do you have book sources that buy books from you from thrift stores, bookstores? How much do you pay the book sources? Do you let them see how much the particular books sell for? This is from, I think it's Alita. Attila.
I'm a little confused. Can you say that again?
Do you have book sources that buy books for you from thrift stores, bookstores? How much do you pay the book sources, and do you let them see how much the particular book sells for?
Okay, you're thinking about. I got you. So you're talking about one at a time. Now, my friend Brian Young, his whole model is based upon this, right? Like he has book sources all around the country that buy books for him one at a time. And what he'll often do is so he'll pay them their cost back, like whatever they paid for the book, and then like a fixed amount per book. So if they'll get a dollar or $2, whatever it is, I think $1 per book that they source that meet his criteria. And I don't think that he worries about them seeing the price of the book. And that might sound weird to a lot of you. I mean, there's over 100 folks watching right now live. And that might sound weird to a lot of us. Like, well, why would you let someone be a potential competitor? And the reason that sounds weird to a lot of us is that we're the weirdos. People that are entrepreneurial are weird in this country. Most people just want a paycheck, right? Someone just wants to get paid and go home. So I don't want to speak for Brian, but I don't think he's ever had an issue with someone, starting a competing company or having that kind of effect. People just want to get paid. And you guys take it for granted. You take for granted what you already know. Setting up an Amazon account is not the easiest thing in the world. Understanding, the fee structure, sending stuff in, all that stuff is hard work. And most people don't have an entrepreneurial bone in their body. So I don't think training competitors is as big of an issue as you might think.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I just think that the more you share, the more you benefit from anyway. Does Amazon destroy the books or sell them in bundles?
I don't know about bundles, but they do sell them. They don't actually destroy the books. They sell them by the truckload to guys. And heck, I might even be buying my old books back. Because there's been times where we bought truckloads of used books from Amazon.
And that was from Mark. Let's see. Don says, I know that, but I need a more precise way to calculate. He probably just answered something. Can you see the storage fee charge per books in Seller Central? Someone put reports, fulfillment, payments, long-term storage fee charges. That's Bob Wiley. He's on the ball here. Let's see.
I wanted to answer this from Joy Bell. It's $bookSwap.com. So $bookSwap.com. That's the website.
Okay.
I wonder if I can't we?
I'm down to 231 on the actual question. So if you see them, you can just follow right along. I don't know if you can see the chat the way I do.
Yeah, I can. I'm from the bottom. So
okay.
Yeah.
No one more coffee.
Okay, this is Ben Lee says, can you give us some itty bitty hints on where to start looking for bulk books? I understand the recycler angle, but I'm wondering where in the world you get Gaylords of books that aren't just garbage other than recyclers. Now, here's the trick, Ben, and this is stuff that I've worked on something in the past, and guys from my audience are probably familiar with something I talk about called straw into gold, right? Where if you guys remember, like the story about Rumpelstiltskin, where you had this guy that would basically turn straw into gold. It was magic. Now, the thing about books is that most people treat books like garbage, like they're just trash. And what I will find is that a lot of times, no matter there are often books from recyclers that can be junk. That's true. But a lot of times, the books that are at the recyclers are no different than some of the books I'm paying top dollar from some brokers or from some of the bigger thrifts or bookstores or libraries. So I wouldn't write off recyclers. In fact, one of the ways I got into bulk books was we have a local half price books here in Dayton. And hopefully the statute of limitations is over. But I used to dumpster dive in the back of the half price when I first started. And so I'd jump in there. I had a little miner's lamp. I'd jump in at night after everybody was closed. And I would get great books out of there. They just didn't want. And I used to think, man, these guys are stupid. Look how dumb these guys are for throwing all these books away. Now that we have a retail operation, I can understand the logistics of why you'd want to throw books away. You already have them in stock, or you have too many in FBA, too many merchant, or they've just been sitting around too long. But back then, I didn't understand that. And so I'm thinking, well, wow, look at these knuckleheads. They don't know what they're doing. And then I figured out that, hey, there's a number on the back of this can. This can's going somewhere. And so long story short, we figured out that it didn't really work with those books in particular, but we figured out ways that we could buy tractor trailer loads of these books from recycling centers, thrift stores, bookstores. It is not hard to find books. Once you get the hang of this and you start making phone calls, you can really make it happen. And what I will tell you, Ben, and the rest of you guys too, unless you're making 20 or 30 calls a day and getting no's every time, if that starts happening, then you can complain about you can't find books. But if you're not on the phone hammering people and trying to figure things out, and you can just look, your local city recycled books, or your local city used books, or whatever. But definitely don't buy. There's like usedwholesalebooks.com. That's thrift books website that they sell books by the ton. Do not buy those books. Definitely don't do that. But otherwise, you need to locally is what you need to do, because books are heavy. You can't afford shipping on this kind of stuff unless you're doing it by the trailer load. It has to be local to you.
Michael wants to know, what type of packaging do you use for merchant fulfilled books, and does it vary depending on value, weight, etc.?
It does. We have poly mailers that don't. They're on a roll that we do for books that aren't very valuable. And some of you guys have already seen videos of this that I put out before, where there's basically a roll that's up here, and there's you put a book in there and tear it off and seal it, and then another envelope falls down. But we don't do bubble mailers that way. Those are for the bubble mailers. We just use the regular poly bubble mailers that everybody's probably seen, except we buy them, 1,000 at a time to save money. Probably more than that, but yeah. So it's nothing special in terms of poly mailers.
Ed wants to know, are you using exclusive partnered shipping?
Mostly, yeah, we use DHL. It's a little slower, but it's way cheaper. So yeah, we use mostly DHL for merchant fulfilled shipping.
Margaret says, what apps are the best for MF? Do you use different parameters for MF versus FBA?
Yeah, we do. Mostly merchant fulfilled. Again, I think we've covered this somewhat, but merchant fulfilled is usually books that are either high rank or high value, or we just have too many of them in FBA. But with this new fee structure, I don't know how anyone on the planet will be able to sell penny books anymore. If we still see penny books that are, especially for books that weigh more than a pound, come April, I'll be shocked, because now Amazon's going to be charging $1.95, plus they're going to be charging the 15% on the entire cost, not just the cost plus shipping. So if you sell a book for a penny, you're selling it for $4. So they're charging that 15% of the whole $4. That's another 60 cents. So before anything happens, Amazon is getting $2.60 per order. So that leaves you with $1.40 to ship a book and for the mailer and for the labor, and I can't do that. So I'm sure some people can, but I can't.
All right, we've got, let's see, from Margaret, what determines when sending in books to FBA versus MF?
We definitely just said that, like we just.
That's what I kind of just thought.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm not sure what this question is from John, but maybe you have an answer for it. You have 2 slider conveyors that are very long. Are they 30-inch wide? Does it help to just let books stack up using the whole conveyor length? How does it help specifically?
Yeah, this is a question that we're going to have to answer. Like, we'll have to do this at another time when we have a diagram of my system up here, because I don't think abstractly I can't even talk like that. Like, if I can't see it, it's hard for me to talk like that. My father gets very upset when we're designing the shelving for the new building, and I have to actually see something to be able to talk about it. But in general, what happens is the books, the Gaylord dumper lifts the whole bin over and dumps it on the conveyor, and it goes down. And then we have guys that throw the junky books and the old books, and then stack the rest of the books barcode face up. And again, you can see this at the Book Swap website. I think you see parts of the line running. But yeah, so it goes down, and then the guys are scanning the books that way. It's hard to see that without looking. Some of the guys that are here, John, are sort of part of my audience, because I shot the link out, so they know a little bit more about what we do. Right.
We're going on a little over an hour here. We still have a lot of questions here. It's up to you if you want me to keep shooting these questions at you. You tell me.
Yeah, my daughter. Yeah, everybody's gone. I'm here at the building by myself. At 3:30, we work 7 to 3:30, and at 3:31, it's like a ghost town here. So I have my daughter, but because we have a daycare here, and but my sister went ahead and took my daughter home, so I have plenty of time.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to make sure. I don't want to be having you have other commitments that you need to get to, and make sure that we get that taken care of for you. Russ says, let's see. I thought about using half.com for my books coming back from Amazon, but they raised rates as well. Books under $10 aren't worth it if I have to handle it. So I think you just answer a statement. Sorry, I'm just trying to look at them. More than one listing, exactly. How do you know which listing to use for buying? What about, Kara says, what about when there is more than one listing, exact same item? How do you know which listing to use for buying decisions, and then where to list your item? Half is a waste of time for my books.
Okay, well, we use third-party software for all this, right? So we're not going to any Amazon pages. We never use Amazon for anything. We use all third-party stuff. And what you'll find is that it's very rare that that's not true. What our software does is it automatically chooses the one, like, let's say there's multiple books that pop up when you scan an ISBN. It's going to choose the one with the lowest sales rank. And 99 times out of 100, that's going to be the one you want to list at, because the other one is just another copy of that same book. Amazon's catalog is way screwed up. Anybody can change it. Maybe it's changed lately, but from what I remember before, anyone can change Amazon's catalog and add to it and goof on it and everything. So there's a lot of people that try to scam by creating a new listing for a book that already exists. And so that really clutters up the catalog, and you have these kind of problems. but our software will automatically choose. We have a setting on it to where it automatically chooses the lowest ranking item, and that's right 99 times out of 100.
Yeah, and guys, as far as the chat goes, there's a lot of questions in chat. I am copying it, so when we do get the recording out to you of the replay, you will get the chat. And other than Greg, who's answering questions, is Bob and other people in here that have been gracious enough to answer questions. So you will get that. So if we don't get to all the questions with the answers, you will get the chat. Making sure that I get that, make that available to you.
And we got, if you don't mind, John, someone's asking about when you call recyclers, what's your conversation? If you're good with it, when we're done here in the next few days, I have both a PDF and a video of me going through the way I contact recyclers. So I can go ahead and send that to you, that you can go ahead and forward on to your audience if you want to.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll put that right into with the replay.
Okay. And that goes right into how we contact recycling centers and what we say to them.
Yeah, I'll put that and add that right to the replay so they have that also.
Awesome.
And when we get down to the end anyway, we're going to ask you to, give your contact information on how they can reach you if they want anyway. So let's see. Kyle says, do you know anything about selling textbooks wholesale? I have a connection and could get started, but imagine there would be a significant entry cost.
I don't do it myself. I try to get into it. The issue is that for what we do, these textbook wholesalers, they want the high dollar books as well. They don't want just because I have a lot of books that they would buy from me for $1 or $2. Like Lord of the Flies, those kind of books where they sell them in the university. But they also want $80, $90, $100 textbooks. And right now, we don't have a way in our accept-reject criteria to figure out, hey, we're going to make more money by wholesaling this than selling it on Amazon, or we'll make 10% less. We don't have a way to do that. Anyway, that being said, I do have friends that crush it. Nick and Anitra Jump, who are really good friends of mine. That's their whole business model. They basically buy a bunch of textbooks from colleges and professors, and then they wholesale enough of those books to make their money back to the wholesalers, and then they will take the rest and sell them on Amazon, and now all that's profit. And a version of that is what we're trying to do with the bookstores. We would love it to set it up to where between recyclers, between wholesalers, between the local bookstore, we're able to, and recyclers, between all that, we're able to make all the money back, that all of our expenses are paid. And then everything we sell on Amazon is profit. That's my long-term goal.
Martin says, what is the most vital piece of software you use for making buying decisions and sorting decisions? I currently use Spotify app.
We use Needlescan Inventory Manager, and I have a love-hate relationship with them. They charge a percentage of sales to use. So our current percentage, we've been a customer for a long time. They charge us 1.25% of sales, and in January we're going to do $450,000 in sales. So it's a lot of money, and they have a big setup fee as well to use. But until we're able to develop something of our own, it's really the only thing that works for us. And Chris Green is a friend of mine, a real good friend. I've begged him and his partner. I've begged them to make a database version of their product. Begged and begged. I've driven to Indiana multiple times to go and beg them, and it just doesn't make sense for them to do. So we're in a weird situation, and we have like we have kind of a weird business model that really there's not a whole lot of folks that can service what we're trying to do.
We've got Ben asking nicely to you, Greg. He's saying, can you give us some hints on where to start looking for bulk books? I understand the recycle angle, but I'm wondering where in the world you get Gaylords of books that aren't just garbage other than recyclers.
Yeah, I answered that already while you were perusing. But I'll give it one more time if folks missed it. The big deal are recyclers, obviously, thrift stores, bookstores and libraries, and there's slightly different ways to handle each of those groups. But what I told Ben and what I told all you guys is that unless you're making 20 cold calls a day and everybody's saying no, then then you can't complain yet that you can't find books.
All right. And they wanted to know, Joy Bella says, your website, is it dollarbooks.com?
It's dollarbookswap.com.
So Joy Bella, that's dollarbookswap.com. Can this be done by someone outside the U.S.?
I don't know. I know what I know because I'm not outside the U.S. and I can only tell you what I do. But I do know that these companies exist. Better World Books has, they have an operation in the UK. And I don't know much about markets outside of the U.S. And for the friends of mine that are doing business in the UK are not doing books. So, that there's people that are doing a lot of business in Amazon Europe. And there's folks that like Steve Sawyer that are teaching other people how to do it. But they don't focus on books. So I don't have any resources to give you for that.
We got Melinda saying, what is the best way to deal with books discovered the smell of cigarette smoke?
I don't know. I think, wait, Bob's here, and he has either he has a product or he uses a product for that. It's like magic. Honestly, we just don't sell them. We just get rid of them. But I'm sure there's a way that you can, people talk about putting what's that stuff you put in the dryer? To dryer sheets or whatever?
Dryer sheets?
I have no idea. Again, for me, what we do, we get rid of them and move on. Turn them into toilet paper.
Kathy wants to know, what do you think of online arbitrage for sourcing books?
Caleb Caleb, you don't know him, but Caleb has a product that does that, and he's a friend of mine, and I've tried it before. There's all these products that'll make that kind of thing easier. For me, again, it's easier. I stay in my lane. I do what I do. And I also know that there are people that are crushing that are spending hundreds and thousands of dollars a day on these books by checking all these inefficiencies. And I have friends that also buy books from me on a daily basis with our pricing mistakes. It doesn't hurt my feelings a bit. But yeah, to me, it's too much work. But if you're working by yourself, I did do this years ago. But again, I'm not fancy. It was before the software. I would walk on the treadmill at home, and I would look through all of our completed sales. So let's say if I sold a textbook in FBA for $50, I would click through and then buy if I could buy one in Merchant Fulfilled for less than $5 or $6, I would do that and get it shipped to me. And that was kind of the way that we did it. Yeah, I never really pursued it that much.
And Bob says, just for the answer to that, he says he uses a product called Order Be Gone.
There you go. I think Bob makes that in his bathtub, to be honest with you. Yeah, that's it. I've heard that stuff works really well.
Attila, I don't know if we answered this one yet, but she wants to know how much do you pay when you buy books in bulk? Do you pay by the ton?
We do. We pay per pound. Here's the thing. This is a very good story here. So we do, when you're dealing with, you want to pay by the ton, John. That's what you want to do. You want to pay by the ton, and whether or not you're getting a good deal. We deal with the recycler that sells us books, and it's funny when you talk with a lot of people when they're buying books, they want to buy from you by the ton, but they want to sell to you by the pound, right? And it's interesting how they'll talk about that. They'll say, well, yeah, 6-7 cents a pound, and then when they're buying, they talk about it by the tons. But recyclers, if you can buy books from recyclers, we have a guy that they're selling us books $60 a ton delivered, which is an amazing price because that's on our doorstep. We don't got to pay for freight. The most we pay for books, and that's also not having to pay for Gaylords either. So the most we pay for books, we have a source that we pay 10 cents a pound, which is $200 a ton. Plus I think we pay like $16 a Gaylord. So a truckload of books will end up costing like $5,000. after you pay for the shipping. Even more, 5,500 sometimes.
We have another question. Do you bother removing stickers from previous sellers, used stickers, previous price stickers?
Not at all. Never, never, never. And again, other people disagree and do all kinds of things. But what I will say is, please don't, um, polybag the books that you're sending into FBA individually. You don't have to do that. You just send them in naked, put them in a box, and send them to FBA. Steve Clifford's asking, Greg, will you continue your podcast? I will. It's been I've had a tough few months here. There's some personal stuff and some business stuff and family stuff. Everyone was sick. It was a whole bummer. I am going to be continuing the podcast. The next one I hope to put up is one with my good friend Brian Young, but I will be doing it at some point. I promise you that.
It looks like Don says, John, how do we get on your mailing list? Don, just Facebook me. Look me up on Facebook. You can just PM me, and I'll get that information to you. Okay, let's see. Greg, do you sell your dollar books online? I am on your website, but that info is not there, or at least cannot find it. I apologize if I have overlooked.
No, we don't. It's too expensive for the shipping. We don't. And the other thing too is that our dollar book swap, the reason we can sell them for $1 is they're not cataloged, right? We do sort them into 60 plus categories, but they're not cataloged. So you're not able to. We wouldn't be able to sell you individual titles that way. We can't do that. However, we are growing. We're going to start selling books through the dollar book swap online. We've tried this before. We're at like a box of 50 pounds of kids books for $50 with free shipping, that kind of thing. We've done that before, and we're going to continue that. We've built our business basically with Facebook advertising. We've spent over $75,000, way more than that now, in Facebook ads. And we've built 25,000 people like the Dollar Book Swap on Facebook. And really, we're building a huge community of folks that are big fans of books, all just within our local city.
John says, for the OA software, do you remember what it is called?
Oh, yeah. I just didn't know if you wanted me to mention it on the thing.
Yeah, I have no problem
it's
promoting it.
Yeah, Caleb Roth's.
You can actually post it right. If you want to just post it right in the chat, you can.
He's going to be ticked. I don't remember. Let me just look real quick. But yeah, he's going to be ticked if he ever watches it. But I can't remember the name of the software. eFlip. There we go. Dang it. Yeah, it's called eFlip. There you go. Everybody put it in there. As soon as I was done. Yeah, don't tell Caleb, guys. Don, Kyle, Troy, don't tell Caleb I couldn't remember the name of the software. I had a little brain fart. Yeah, I've been talking with you guys for over an hour. Sometimes I forget.
Yeah. Follow my...
Mark says, how did you decide to open a book swap? How many books do you need to sell in a brick and mortar to make sense to open it? Now, I haven't opened a brick and mortar store separate from my warehouse yet. I don't feel comfortable talking about that or recommending people do that because I haven't done it, right? And I only recommend what I've done that's successful. But our warehouse sale, where we sell the books for $1 a piece, I do suggest that that you want to have as many books as possible. I have some friends, Jesse Forbes and others, that are opening bookstores. I really think you need at least 20,000 books to make it make sense. And at the very least, you have to sort those books into fiction, nonfiction, and children's books. The more sorting you can do, the better. But you don't want to overdo it with a low price point and end up costing you money. And Pat's asking about the eBay store name. I'm not going to tell you that. It's just something I won't do. But you'll probably be able to figure it out anyway.
All right, I put a link here, guys. If you want to follow my webinar series, I think I'm up to 40-something webinars now.
Cool.
You can get all my previous free webinars by joining my free Facebook group here at Pro Seller Talk. You can go in there. In the files, you'll see all the webinars, including Greg's will be in there once we get this downloaded and uploaded into the actual group. So, again, that'll be in there. I will be putting the chats along with along with the actual webinar in there, so you guys have that available to you also. All right, looks like we're almost done with the chat part, but then there's a Q&A part that I want to get to if you haven't seen. I don't know if you can see the Q&A end of it. Can you?
Yeah, I've answered a few of these already. But one of the ones I didn't is what repricing software do you recommend is what Michael asked. And we use our own, we use some proprietary stuff that we work with. But we don't use Nitoscan for repricing. That's what we use for inventory management. We don't use it for repricing. But I know that people are successful. My buddy Brian Young, I know he's really into reprice it. Yeah, that's the one he's into. Other people have success with other. I don't love repricers in general. On the third party stuff, I don't think any of it's great, but it's better than nothing.
All right, I think you answered this. I can't. This guy's name is Batuli, Batuli, something like that. I'm not sure. I apologize if I'm saying it wrong. He says, "Can one do this when they are outside of the U.S.?" And Greg has answered that, saying he has no idea. He's from the U.S. and he does it from here.
Right.
All right. Any more in that Q&A section?
Well, Mark, this is a kind of an interesting question. Have you ever looked into storing books at a storage unit to do MF rather than FBA? I have not. So actually, I kind of did. I mean, not a storage unit per se, but I've been down that road before, and I have friends that did it for a while. I think it's a pain in the neck. You got to go to the storage unit every day and pick books, and I mean, I know people that do it, but man, it is a pain in the tail. And yeah, I don't know that it might be right for you, but that sounds like a lot of work. I think we're in good shape.
Yeah, I was kind of looking to see if there's anything else that I could see that was going on. There's about 22 in there, but I think that you've been trying to get to those.
Yeah.
This one, well, Ed says, and I don't think we've answered this. Do you use third-party prep services for FBA?
No, it would be way too expensive. With the margins that we have on books, it's just way too much money to make it make sense. So definitely not. Now, if you just did textbooks, it might make sense, right? If you were doing online arbitrage, I know people that do this. They use the software to buy books from people to do merch fulfilled, send it to one of those fulfillment places. They prep it and send it into FBA. But there's enough money, buying for $3, going to sell it for $50. There's enough money to play around there.
Right. I think you answered this a while ago too from Pat. It says, Greg, what do you believe the new penny book pricing will be raising to with the new fees?
Oh, well, I think first off, this got to be the last question. I do have to go, but I think that there's a lot of dumb money that's going to be sticking around. So it's going to take a while for the market to adjust, for some of these larger companies to realize they're not making any money, and for some of these thrift stores that have. I know some thrift stores that have like teenage kids running their e-commerce department, because since they're 19 and they use Facebook, they must know how to run an e-commerce business, right? So I know people that a lot of times they have people that don't know what they're doing running these online companies. So making the pricing decisions at least. So I think it'll be a while before all the dumb money runs out. Eventually, though, I'm thinking the price from the mega sellers will probably end up being around $1.
Around $1.
Yeah, plus shipping.
Plus shipping. All right, it looks like I got pretty much all of this chat down, copied and paste while we were going through these questions. You had an amazing amount of questions. There was a lot of questions here. I'm totally impressed with you guys coming on and really picking Greg's brain. He answered
Yeah,
a
I'm
lot of
tired.
he answered a lot of questions, and I do have all that chat copied, as well as the questions that were asked to Greg and his answers for him. You can actually get the chat to match them up if you need to. Hey guys, it's been a pleasure, Greg. Pleasure having you here early in the afternoon. I'm still here at the warehouse, so it's kind of different for me to do them in the afternoon. I usually do these about 7 o'clock at night when I'm home in my comfort zone. But again, pleasure having you here. If they want to reach out and find out how to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
Well, you can either go to busproofbusiness.com, or you can find the Busproof Book Flipping group on Facebook. Either way is good. You can also, if you want to, check out the Dollar Book Swap. You can do that at dollarbookswap.com as well.
Okay, again, my pleasure. Guys, if you want to follow me, it's Pro Seller Talk is my Facebook group. I put the link in here. If you guys want to follow that, you'll see that all my webinars that I have free actually go into that group, and it's a free group to join. A lot of different guests on there, a lot of different kind of topics. Today was a topic about books, and who better than Greg Murphy, who's the expert of books. I consider him an expert of books. He's been doing this for a while now, really mastered it and moved on to, the bulk side of things that he's doing now. So Greg, again, my pleasure. I'll let you get back to your family. God bless you. God bless everybody for coming on here and being with us in the afternoon, early afternoon like this. We know there's other things you can be doing. Some of you are at work. We know that too, but that's okay. We appreciate having you here. And until next time, take care. Thanks, Greg.
Guys.
Let me just see.